According to the class survey, 75% of you already knew who Al Capone was. I've always been interested in history, so that's why I chose this topic, specifically about the 1920s and the Prohibition era. I'm here today to inform you about his life and the impact he had on America and the Prohibition era. In the 1920s, the 18th Amendment made alcohol illegal to sell, distribute, manufacture, and transport. Al Capone saw this as a business opportunity, disregarding the fact that selling alcohol was illegal. The 3 points I want to go over will be his early life, his rise to fame, and how he changed the Prohibition era. Al Capone's early life was typical that of any Italian immigrants of that time. His family wasn't that wealthy. They were a working class family. He lived a normal life up until the time he got involved in major crimes. Chicago Historical Society claims that Al Capone is America's best-known gangster and single greatest symbol of collapse of law and order in the 1920s Prohibition era. He was born January 17th, 1899, and contrary to popular images portrayed in cinema, True TV reveals that Al Capone was born in Italy. Was not born in Italy, but rather in New York, Brooklyn, New York. He dropped out of school in the 6th grade because he had a fight with his teacher and he was expelled, so he never went back. He decided to live a normal life and try to work a job to make money. He had his own shoe shine business, and he got robbed, and he went to the police, but the police just laughed at him and didn't do anything about it. So he basically thought that the police weren't on his side at that early of an age, so he decided he had to do things for himself. He soon gave up the blue-collar life and joined a gang called the 5 Point Gangs. He was a bouncer in a speakeasy, which is an underground bar that was host to alcohol. He received a knife. An online article from Seize the Night report that Capone was a bouncer in his late teens, and he received a scar on his face from a knife fight, which coined him the name Scarface. He met Mae Josephine Coughlin. He married her in 1918 and had his son that same year as well when he married her. Shortly after, he moved to Chicago to start bootlegging, which is selling alcohol illegally. When he moved from New York to Chicago, he began his involvement in an underground crime syndicate that specialized in bootlegging. Here he began his rise to power and fame. Capone worked for this man named Johnny Torrio, who was a prominent leader in the Colosimo mob. They ran things together until the time that Jim Colosimo, who was the main leader, was murdered, and Torrio took charge. Soon after, Torrio was injured, and he retired and gave full leadership to Capone. He ran racketeers and speakeasies throughout Chicago, and his reported income was over $100 million a year, which is more than Bill Gates if you add in the inflation thing and everything like that. He had plenty of businesses and cover-ups from the government and the police. The next point I want to talk about is the St. Valentine's Massacre, which occurred in February 14th, 1929. It was an all-out war in Chicago about who was controlling what parts of the bootlegging industry. There was a South Side mob, which Al Capone belonged to, and the North Side. This event occurred in North Side Chicago in a garage in Lincoln Park. Capone's men dressed as policemen and pretended to raid the garage, so they lined up all the people that were in there, and they pulled out their machine guns and they murdered them. It was the most notorious crime at that era. As Al Capone most quickly rising in rank in the underground criminal world and inevitably led to his downfall. In 1931, he was arrested for tax evasion. He was charged on 23 counts, but only found guilty on 5. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and a $50,000 fine. He was incarcerated at the Atlanta State Prison, which he ran everything inside there illegally, all the different areas of crime in there. The law tried to stop him, so they moved him to Alcatraz, which is a secluded prison, and there he just became quiet until he was released. Soon after his release, he passed away though, and he died in January 21st, 1947 of syphilis-related diseases. He contracted it when he was a teen, and he never took care of it because penicillin was invented, but they never connected. They never had a cure for it back then, I guess. Al Capone is one of America's most infamous historical figures in history. He basically changed the 18th Amendment to provoke the 21st Amendment, which repealed the 18th. That happened in December of 1933. The prohibition was thought to be unnecessary by most Americans at that time, as Al Capone had once stated, the prohibition has brought nothing but trouble. And I got a picture of him right here. This is my visual aid. He was wearing a fedora, and he is most seen.